Hey, Stephen, thank you so much for taking the time to come on the podcast with us today. And we're really excited to talk about your new book, Beer Can Chicken. Ben and I couldn't put it down as soon as we got it. We went through the whole thing multiple times. So we appreciate you jumping on and chatting with us a little bit more about it today.
The pleasure's mine.
So I think the first question that we have for you, and we're going to jump right in, is, if you could share with our listeners, we have a lot of listeners who are just beginning their barbecue and grilling journey. What made you want to write a book specifically about beer can chicken?
You know what? For precisely that reason. Beer Can Chicken, my original Beer Can Chicken book came out in 2004, so 20 years ago. And our feeling was that it's time for a new generation of grillers to discover beer can chicken. Now, beer can chicken, it's a uniquely and very distinctly American barbecue classic. In a nutshell, you take a chicken and insert it over an open, upright can of beer, and you roast it in a vertical position. And when you do that, three things happen. Number one, because you're in a vertical position roasting the bird, you get heat from all sides, right? So it roasts very evenly. Number two, the fat drains off the bottom and the skin gets really crisp. And number three, when you open the grill and people are watching, you get the eye pop, jaw drop, it's fun. It's a really fun dish. It's a wacky dish. It's a fun dish. And so I felt like it was time to introduce beer can chicken to a new generation.
No, and that's great. Even on your cover, it looks like, you're using a cast iron quite a bit underneath that. Is there a reason particularly you're using the cast iron? Like, are you putting anything down in there besides like the vegetables and, you got some onions and stuff going here, but are you putting more beer down in the cast iron too? Or are you using that to like catch the drippings? Are you just using more flexibility?
No, the cast iron is really to catch the drippings. And, you've got all this wonderful chicken fat flavored with wood smoke and barbecue rub collecting in the pan. So why not roast vegetables in it too?
That makes sense to me.
And, this is really kind of a classic, becoming a classic grilling dish. But there's a lot of other ways to do chicken. So what really sets this approach apart from maybe some of those other ones like spatchcock or just putting it on the grill itself?
Well, I think, we talked about the sort of physics of beer can chicken and how this vertical position, the super crisp skin, the whimsy and the fun. It's also an incredibly versatile method. And what I did is I kind of took this American idea and I traveled around the world with it. So in the first chapter, for example, you'll find a tandoori beer can chicken flavored with Indian spices, cooked over a can of Kingfisher beer, which is India's premier beer. There's a sake chicken flavored with Japanese seasonings and cooked over a can of sake, rice wine. Mm-hmm. And then there's a chapter on non-beer or non-alcoholic beer can chicken. So, for example, you might find a Coca-Cola chicken with an incredible Coca-Cola barbecue sauce. That one's really good. Mm-hmm. Or cranberry juice chicken that is served with a cranberry barbecue sauce. It's I guess many of my books like Project Smoke, Project Fire, Barbecue Bible, in a sense, they're more textbooks, that kind of cover a broad range of techniques and really try and do a lot of explaining and teaching about the physics, the chemistry. In this one, I wanted to take a fun idea and just see how many different directions you could push it in.
Yeah. I mean, you went a lot of directions with it.
I mean, also, I want to add that because here in Reichlandia, we cook everything on the grill, side dishes, appetizers, even desserts. So there is a side dish chapter. Yep. All the great fun things you can do with vegetables to serve with your beer can chicken, and a dessert chapter. And I guess if there's one theme of this book, it's sort of offbeat. Everything is a little offbeat. So in the vegetable chapter, for example, you find ember roasted corn. Now, I'm a great fan of grilling corn. I've been doing it since the Barbecue Bible, but In this particular iteration, you take the corn, it's in the husk with the silk, you lay it right on the embers of your charcoal grill. So in effect, your caveman style grilling, and you burn the husk off, you burn the silk off, and that imparts a smoke flavor in the corn that's really spectacular. In the dessert chapter, I've got I call it glazed donuts. And the donuts in question are donut peaches, which are coming into season right about now.
Yeah.
And those are served with a rum, brown sugar, butter glaze. That's really fun and delicious. There's also a grilled pound cake, which is, the grill was the original toaster. So you get these interesting kind of charred, smoky caramel flavors with the pound cake. And I serve that with a strawberry salsa, so it looks like a tomato sauce. So, it actually even contains jalapenos, but it's made with strawberries. So it's sweet rather than savory.
Yeah, that's great. We're in Wisconsin here, so like corn is like big, especially during the summer. So we love that recipe in there, and we're going to try it out this summer. But as you were kind of creating the book and going through and updating it, any surprising facts about or tidbits about beer can chicken that you didn't maybe know before?
Well, it's funny. I guess maybe the surprising fact about it. So, like I said, the original book came out in 2004. And so, we're talking about a dish that's really 20, 25 years old. And then, the book came out. It was a really big, it sold a ton of copies. It actually built my house in Martha's Vineyard where I'm talking to you from.
That's a good book.
And then like all books, or many books, it kind of faded into oblivion. But in the last year, so the New York Times ran a summer menu and mentioned they brought back beer can chicken. And then I have a friend named Bob who's a very high-powered international lawyer, flies his own jet and everything. And he had us over to dinner and he served beer can chicken. I thought, kind of light bulb went off. And I thought, wow, maybe, it's time to bring beer can chicken back. So I guess the surprise is that people are still making it. And I hope now with the publication of this book, people are going to be making it a lot more.
Yeah, it's definitely that time too. A little bit warmer outside, springtime, summertime. It's a perfect time to do that.
Absolutely.
So if you're using one beer, you can only pick one. What's your go-to for the beer that you're using?
Oh boy. Well, one of the funny ironies of beer can chicken is that historically, and I say historically because it's no longer true, but historically, the better the beer, the less likely it was to come in a can. The more likely it was to come in a bottle. That has changed. Whatever beer I have, Guinness. If you have it at my house, I would probably use Guinness, and I'd probably make a barbecue sauce with the Guinness, because that's the other piece of this. So we've got a very distinctive way to cook a chicken, but then you've got the liquid from the can. You always want to empty half the liquid out. One reason for that is to make sure the can is actually open, because I would not want to do beer can chicken on a closed beer can.
That'd be a mess.
That might lead to shrapnel chicken. And so you can use the beer or the cranberry juice or the peach nectar to make your barbecue sauce. And that has a whole new dimension to the dish.
Yeah, I love it. You're just kind of continuing to incorporate the flavor in different types of sauces, maybe the side dish. And I guess the question I have for you, if somebody was doing this for the first time, what would maybe be some recommendations or some tips to ensure that they're successful on their first attempt?
Besides opening the can.
Yeah.
Opening the can, that is very important. Seasoning the bird inside and out with your favorite barbecue rub. I give mine my secret rub, which is actually equal parts salt, pepper, paprika, and brown sugar. So there's a little freebie for everybody. The most important thing, I think, is if you imagine beer can chicken, you want to make a tripod, right? So you want your can here with the bird on it, and then you want to pull the legs forward. So you actually get a tripod. Something that looks like that. So the beer can chicken will be steady. Now, there's no shortage of beer can chicken roasters you can buy on Amazon. I, in fact, make one myself. It comes with a can with a lid you can screw off. So if you want to use wine or coffee or fruit juice instead of beer, you can. But that tripod principle, that's very important.
Great tips.
The other thing is taking the beer off the can. Um, because remember the liquid in the can is going to be hot. So what I do is I grab the can with one set of tongs. I grab the bird with another set of tongs, or if I've, insulated gloves, and I just lift the bird off the can.
Mm. Yeah, and you have all those tips inside the book. You gave a lot of good warnings about the can's going to be hot, so make sure that you have some protective gloves and things on.
Right, exactly. Speaking of protective gloves, by the way, there's one chapter on unusual ways to cook chicken that don't involve beer cans. Right. And in that, you'll find a welder's chicken that was a reader sent me in the recipe. It's kind of intriguing. You season a chicken, then wrap it in many layers of foil and direct grill it. Now, normally you wouldn't grill a whole bird, right? Unless you spatchcock it. But in this recipe, so you keep turning it. And as you turn it, you keep it from burning, but the foil holds in the steam, so it cooks the bird. And you use welder's gloves to turn it, or, just a good grill glove. But that's a fun one. I mean, spatchcocking is another one. Grilling chicken under a brick is another one. Under a stone is another one. If most Raichlen books are serious, this is the Raichlen book that's whimsical.
Sure. Okay. And Stephen, do you have if you're doing your beer can chicken, what type of grill are you doing it on?
Well, personally, I probably would use a charcoal grill because it's very easy to add wood chunks or chips and smoke the bird as well as grill it. But that being said, I've done it on a gas grill, and for that, my little tweak there, if your grill has a smoker box, you put the chips in the smoker box. If it doesn't, lift the grill grate and put wood chunks under the grate between those flavorizer bars or over the burner. That will kind of get you smoke flavor. Pellet grill, that has a built-in smoky quality. So you can really do the recipe on any grill.
Yep.
And for that matter, if you're an apartment dweller or a condo dweller that can't have a grill, you can do it in the oven. But I suspect that most of your listeners and viewers have grills already.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and that's the hope, is that we got them towards getting their first one, or if they just got their first one, that we can help them along the way.
Mm. Well, a good book for that, if I may, is my book, The Barbecue Bible, or How to Grill. Those are really step-by-step, lots of color photos, and will really get you up to speed. I mean, the other thing is, I'm sure you know my website, barbecuebible.com. And your viewers who are just starting out can subscribe to my Up and Smoke newsletter that comes out twice a week. And we really do gear that towards people who are just beginning their journey into this amazing, wonderful world of barbecue.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. So where can folks go to find the book? Is that the Barbecue Bible?
Barbecuebible.com. You can order it, and that's all spelled out, by the way, and barbecue with a C, not a Q. BARBECUEBIBLE.com. Amazon carries it. Bookstores, support your local bookstore.
Mm-hmm.
But it should be pretty widely available.
Awesome. And if people want to follow you, or they want to continue to see your content, where else could they find you at?
So Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and X, it's at Stephen Raichlen, and that's spelled STEVENRAICHLEN. And we do a new post every day. So it's my life in barbecue is very, very, very varied, right? I do the books, I do the TV. It might be one day, it might be a travel. One day it might be something I did at home. One day it might be something I saw on social media that really caught my fancy. But what I love about this field, and I'm sure you guys too, is it's so broad and so varied, and there's so many ways you can approach it. You can approach it from a gear geek kind of approach. You can approach from a technique approach, a dish approach, who serves the best barbecue. That's what keeps me coming back day after day, year after year.
Well, we're glad to have you. We appreciate you. Keep coming back, because we need books like this. I mean, Greg and I are big readers, avid readers of yours, and we've been fortunate enough to be grilling together for over 10 years now, and I mean our first books were yours.
How to Grill.
Oh, well, thank you.
Raichlen, yeah.
Thank you. You guys do a great job too, and I'm sure people learn a
thank
lot
you.
from you. So thank you. Thank you for your interest.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate your time, Stephen. And again, you can go out and find Beer Can Chicken by Stephen Raichlen. And we'll put the website and all the social media links in the notes here, so you can go out and follow Stephen. But Stephen, again, we really appreciate your time, and good luck with the rest of the book.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Grill on.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Man, so there you have it. There you have it, Ben. We sat down with the man himself, Stephen Raichlen, and we talked about his new book, Beer Can Chicken. What were some of your takeaways from just the insights that he shared about his journey in the beer can chicken world, and then any big takeaways that you had from talking with Stephen?
Yeah, man. I mean, I think right after we hung up with him, I looked at you. I was like, man, I could have sat down with him for
we could have
a week.
I would have loved to pick his brain more.
Yeah. Honestly, what a great time. What a cool interview.
Yeah.
You can see he's so down to earth and truly cares about his craft and what he does and puts time and effort into it. And honestly, but I love the way he's fearless with stuff too. He's willing to try anything. And I think kind of a few big takeaways that I had, man, was he really gears this book to everybody.
Yeah.
And I specifically asked him, I think I kind of asked him this selfishly, what he prefers to cook on, right? Because I wanted to hear it from him. But I mean, he gave his answer, but he also said he tries it out on a gas grill, and and gives ideas and tips and methods in the book, using a charcoal, using an offset, using a gas grill, or using a pellet smoker and stuff, just because he truly wants to make this, he wants, just like us, man, wants everyone to get out and grill. He sees the benefits of it. He sees kind of what, I guess, the advantages and just the passion that you can have once you start. And it comes down to man, like we say too, I mean, we use the stick burners, right? We talk about it all the time. We just talked about it in the last episode in depth, and we have a passion for that, but really it doesn't matter. Just get out and grill. Really get out and grill.
Yeah. And he talked about it too. He made the book for first timers, really. So he breaks it down real easy in all of his books too. He gives a real introduction on, okay, if you're using this type of grill, this is what you should do. This is how you should set it up. If you got a gas grill and you don't have it, or if you're in an apartment and you can't, get a big smoker out there, this is what he recommends.
In the oven.
In the oven, yeah. Even in the book, he recommends, he gives you some tips and ideas on how to do it in the oven if you don't have a smoker or a charcoal or a grill outside. So just a lot of ways to do it for anybody. Anybody could do it. So I love that part about the book too. And then also he said it, when we talked to him, that's exactly who he made this for, was those first timers that might be trying it for the first time.
Yeah, man. A lot of great tips and stuff. I mean, even from just kind of being smart about it at the same time, right? Just breaks it down. Make sure you open the can.
Yeah. Yeah.
But and then too, just going in depth to explain why he uses pour half of it out.
Yep.
And just man, the creativity in some of this stuff.
There's a lot of cool recipes, different types of flavors that I never would have thought of in the book and the recipes and stuff that he does. I love that he incorporates desserts, and then also gives you some ideas for sides that go well with it too.
Yeah. And even too, just the idea of not using beer, not using beer. I mean, he said, he mentioned too, he's he obviously mentioned using the tripod, right? Because when I first started,
I just used a can.
The first beer can chicken I ever did, man, I didn't have that. Right. I didn't have
just use the can, and then you strategically position the legs so it's like a tripod. Yeah.
And that was the first time I ever did it. That was what I did. And now I'm fortunate enough to have the actual holder and stuff. And he said, you go on Amazon, you can find, and he said he has his own, but his comes with an actual kind of can that you can put if you don't want to use beer. And he mentioned using wine or juices and stuff like that. And it's just
or just water. Yeah.
Yeah. Or water. Right. But I would never even think to use something besides beer. I never even considered it. And he talks about using pop using like Coca-Cola and stuff.
Yeah,
and,
for those that don't, a good root beer,
right,
cherry cola, something like that. Yeah, a lot of. I mean, it's the options are endless because there's so many different types of flavors out there. So really, whatever you imagine in your head and you want to try out, I mean, you could probably find a flavor and use it.
I mean, talked about, and he has other methods too, besides like the beer can and stuff. And we dive into a little bit of that, about, spatchcocking and he's got the recipes in there and kind of like the how-tos, right? Like how to do it.
Yeah.
In case it is your first time spatchcocking a chicken or a turkey or, whatever bird you're doing.
And he also, that's the thing too. It's not just chicken.
It's not just chicken.
He's got duck in there,
quail, like, a lot of game birds and stuff. He does have a turkey one in there too, and which is awesome. I mean, you can use these recipes and kind of mix and match with different types of bird that you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, it was just we highly recommend you get the book. Beer Can Chicken, Foolproof Recipes for the crispiest, crackliest, smokiest, most succulent birds you've ever tasted. We'll put the links in the show notes here so you can go out and find them. But just an awesome time talking to him. It's a great time too. Like Memorial Day is coming up this weekend. This is so easy. Find a bird, find your beer. You don't need anything fancy. Your favorite rub, rub it down, put it in there, and start to smoke it, man. And it's real simple.
And that's the thing too, man. It can be just as simple as that. Like you can keep it as simple as you absolutely want it to be. Or you can dive in.
Yeah.
Like it's up to you. Like, and I asked him like, what would you like? I think you asked him like, if you were, telling like a beginner and stuff, what would you do? And he just said like, literally just grab your beer, make sure you pour half of it out and stuff. If you want to make a sauce,
sure it's open.
Yeah. Make sure it's open, for safety purposes and stuff.
Yep.
And then he's like, I just, you can keep it as simple as possible. Just using your favorite rub, like rub the outside, rub the inside of the bird, and then pop it on and go.
Let it go. Yeah. So like if you've never done it before, don't be intimidated because it's so simple to do. It's hard to mess up too, I think, because the moisture in the beer or the whatever liquid you're using, and then just low and slow.
I mean, you can't go wrong. And with the chicken too, I mean, you can use like all different kinds of wood chunks and or chips or whatever you got and stuff. And he even said he like gas grill, pellet grill, like, whatever. Like you can do this on anything. And he goes, they're so fun to do and they look cool.
Yeah, it looks cool.
Yeah.
Imagine pulling up to like a tailgate or a party or something like that, and somebody's got a beer can chicken on there. Yeah. As much as we love doing it, we know a lot of people maybe haven't tried it before or haven't even seen it, something like that before. So the wow factor is there.
It's definitely there.
Yeah.
It's definitely there.
Yeah, I know we've talked about beer can chicken on the podcast before in previous episodes and stuff like that. But for you, Ben, like if somebody came and asked you, like, I'm thinking about doing a beer can chicken for the first time, like what would be some of your tips for them?
For the first time?
Yeah, this is your first time doing it. Hey, let's just assume he's got a charcoal like us. He's got a Weber 22-inch kettle grill. Doesn't have a stand or anything fancy. He's like, I'm thinking about doing this. I just picked up a couple of whole chickens from the local butcher. Thinking about doing this whole beer can chicken recipe thing. What would be some tips that you would give him?
Well, I'd say like kind of start prepping it obviously like the day before.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, get your bird, make sure it's unthawed. You can rub it down with some salt to kind of draw some of that moisture out and stuff. Keep it towards the outside. And then when you go to apply your rubs and stuff, dry it off, pat it down so that you make sure your rubs stick. In here, he does mention kind of rubbing it down with some oil.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that way it's gonna do kind of two things, right? It's gonna allow your rubs to stick a little bit better,
adhere to it. Yeah.
Yep. And then it's also gonna help. What does he say? Crisp up. Yeah, the crispiest, crackliest, smokiest birds, right? So like
helps with the
skin.
Yeah. So a lot of times the people, when they're doing chicken on the grill or whatever, they talk about like having rubbery skin or whatever, when you're trying to do wings. So yeah, I think the butter or olive oil will help with that a little bit, will help kind of tighten it up and then also create a golden kind of crispy outer skin.
Yeah. One thing too, Greg, that he mentioned was that, you don't need to buy like the most expensive best beer for this.
Right.
You don't. And that's a great point.
But you could if you wanted to.
Absolutely. Yeah. Hey, otherwise use what you got.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be anything crazy. I think when I've done it, I've used like Coors, I've used like MGD, we've used Budweiser, like Bud Heavy.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think, man. I don't know.
PBR, Pabst.
Oh, yep, Pabst. Yep, we use Pabst.
Classic.
He mentioned using Guinness, and that's one I've never used before.
I haven't either.
I like that concept.
I liked how he mentioned like he'll save some and then make a barbecue sauce with it, so
Yep.
it all kind of mixes together.
And it it just kind of enhances like that flavor and stuff.
For sure.
If it was me too, I'd probably save a little and like spritz the outside with it, maybe.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
Well, let's see, man. What else? Set your grill for indirect grilling, like you mentioned too. Just low and slow. Like as long as you have time, I mean, you can cook them fast.
Yeah.
But I would probably stick to maybe like 250, 300.
Yeah.
You can probably get them done in like an hour.
Obviously
it's with chicken. Like just probe them.
Yeah.
Check them first.
Make sure you get it up
to meteor spots.
What I did find interesting, and we should have asked him about this, but like for temperature wise, poultry's done at 165, but he goes up to 175 on his. I found that interesting. Like, and he says he feels like he gets in the book, he says like he feels it gets like a juicier bird.
Well, there you have it.
Yeah. So I found that interesting because a lot of times like every recipes, because the risk is if you go too high, you dry it out, right? Especially with poultry and chicken. But so that was one thing I found interesting in the book that maybe I hadn't seen before, was that he goes a little bit higher than 165 and it tends to be a little juicier for him. And I imagine that, it has to do with the liquid in the recipes and stuff, beer or whatever else he's using.
Yeah. Man, I saw this one video not too long ago, and it's called a drunken slutty chicken. And this guy,
what were you looking up, buddy?
I can't tell you. Don't worry about it. But it's he does a beer can chicken. I think he was using like a citrusy like IPA, and he takes like 2 limes and he sticks them in the front, and then he takes 2 oranges and he sticks them in the back. So it's like boobs.
Of course, yeah. Classy.
Yeah. I'm like, yeah. I thought it was hilarious.
Yeah, I'm sure you did.
I showed my wife. I was like, look at this chicken. Huh?
I'll do that for the kid's birthday.
Hilarious. Yeah. But I mean, again, like there's so many like different ways that you can do this.
Yeah. And other things that I like that he does in the book, heavy on the seasoning. He's like season the outside, season the inside. He even puts seasoning in the can.
Yeah.
And I like that piece of it.
I do too, man. And I always thought like, because again, like when I would do the chickens and stuff, I wouldn't really read on it, but I would always put some seasoning in the can.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
In the can.
Almost like a margarita rim, right?
Yeah. Right.
Rim the can.
Yeah. Absolutely. Like why not?
Yeah.
And it's funny too, because like I would always poke as many holes as I could kind of around the top to make sure like it's coming out, not just cracking it and just leaving that. Like get some other holes in there and stuff too.
And that's a tip he has in there, like create multiple holes on the top so you have multiple outlets, right?
Yeah.
You don't just have the one. So yeah, a lot of more moisture, a lot of more flavor opportunities to get out into the chicken all around. So that's awesome. He gives safety tips in there. Obviously we talked a little bit about it, make sure you have gloves. The can's going to be hot. The liquid's going to be hot. Be careful that way. Use tongs, use gloves. Just be careful. But yeah, any other big takeaways or thoughts, for folks thinking about doing some beer can chicken?
Let's see, man. I mean, have fun with it. Like, it's one of those, it's been around for a long time, but it's one of those two. It's cool. It's fun to do. It looks awesome.
Right.
Another easy way to kind of impress guys.
Yep.
It's a little beer for you, a little beer for the chicken.
Sure.
You can't go wrong. Yeah. Again, too, just read the book, follow the directions, like especially like kind of the safety instructions, like you said too. It's gonna be hot. I love the idea of using a cast iron. Yeah, having a cast iron underneath it for a couple of reasons. It's gonna be a little bit sturdier, right? Kind of give it, if it does tip, it's at least some of this stuff's gonna pour out just in the cast iron.
Sure,
not a big deal. I've had them tip over on me before. Yeah, I'll be honest. And it's there's a chance it can happen. It's not the end of the world. Don't worry. Yeah. Just get it back up as soon as you can. But even then too, you're catching a lot of those drippings and stuff. And he said, "Oh, I love using those drippings to incorporate into a sauce or whatever he's gonna add into the rest of the meal and stuff." So, or he talks about too making like a homemade like a chicken stock afterwards. So kind of using some of that to make that.
Yeah.
But then too with using the cast iron, man, you can throw other stuff down in there.
Yeah.
Throw some onions and stuff to incorporate with it, or some peppers and. I mean, there's a lot you can do, which is awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with all that stuff that you just said, man. Just so many opportunities, so many different ways, whatever your imagination can think of, you can try it out.
Or a pan, like use a throwaway pan.
Right. Yeah.
Simple,
easy. Go to a dollar store, grab a bunch of them, have them on hand. That's what we like to do. Always have some on hand. But yeah, man, that awesome time talking with Steven about his new book, Beer Can Chicken. Again, we'll put the link out there so you can go find him. But he's got a bunch of other books there too. So if you're interested, everything from like how to start grilling, like how to grill, to
the Barbecue Bible.
Barbecue Bible.
One of the top selling books. And I'll be honest, like it's a good read. He created this, and that's why it's so cool to have him on. But like he really created all of his books in mind with the beginning barbecuer.
Yeah. Yeah, and I still go back to him just about every time.
Much. Yeah, so much. And like, even if it's not, I might not follow that recipe to a T.
Right.
Like I say this all the time. I'm horrible at that. It's just I like to put my own spin on it. But like I always look at like the methods.
Right.
Like, again, you can use your own recipe, your own like what you want to do or twist it however like that suits you. But like the methods in there and stuff is kind of what I focus on.
It is really like, for the beginner and even the expert, like it's always good to go back and just, remind yourself and just get kind of immersed back into like the simplicity and the basics of barbecuing and grilling. I think that's what he does. It does really well. Well, man, that was awesome, man. I'm glad we got to do that together. We got to interview one of kind of our, barbecue inspirations.
Heroes.
It was a great time. And we hope that you enjoyed kind of the interview with him. Go out, check his book out, grab his book, go out and follow him. We'll share his social links. If you do, let him know that Burn Pit BBQ guy sent you over there. That would be awesome. Because we hope to have him back on the podcast again at some point. But it is Memorial Day weekend, Ben. This is a good time for us to reflect and take some time. It's also a great time to get out and barbecue, but kind of remember the reason for the day. Having served in the military, me previously, you currently, we always take the time to reflect and remember those that have gone before us, and never forget that. Never forget the reason for what we're celebrating that day. Even when we are out there smoking up some beer can chickens, enjoying that process, being thankful for the freedom that we have to do that, and the luxury and the ability to do that in a free society. We just hope that people that listen to the podcast, that follow us, kind of take some time as well to do that over the weekend, to enjoy themselves, remember the freedoms that they have, come at a steep price. And just give thanks to those who came before us, and then those who are serving and will continue to serve us in that capacity.
Tip a beer to the fallen comrades.
If
you are doing a beer can chicken, like we said, tip
pour one out for them.
To the guys and the women that have had the ultimate sacrifice, right? That's really what Memorial Day is about.
Yeah, we get to enjoy ourselves and talk about beer can chicken freely because of the sacrifices other people have made for that. So we never forget that, and we hope that you never do it as well. So we'll always incorporate that in everything we do here. But we appreciate you all listening and following and supporting. So it means a great deal to us, and we hope you are going to enjoy your Memorial Day and your Memorial Day weekend, but keep those things in mind. All right, man.
What an episode, Greg.
Man,
it's
put this one down in the record books.
It was that was awesome.
It was. Our best friend finally got him on. We connected. The schedules didn't always work out.
We made it work.
But we made it work to help support him in his new book.
And we really appreciate Steven coming on and sharing the new book and obviously bringing back a legend to the front of the barbecue world with Beer Can Chicken.
Go buy his book, Beer Can Chicken. Go follow him. Go subscribe to his newsletters and stuff, and let him know that the Burn Pit BBQ guys sent you over that way. All right, well, everybody, we hope you have a good time over the weekend. Enjoy yourselves. Get out and grill. But we'll talk to you next week.
Happy Memorial Day.
All right, cheers.